Και σήμερα συντονίζω το πάνελ νούμερο 7 με αντικείμενο την αγροτεχνολογία, την έρευνα και την καινοτομία.
We're here to discuss about AgriTech, research and innovation. In the previous panel, Mr. Kassimis opted for a very clever introduction, so there is no need for me to repeat what he has already said. I would just like to say, further to what Mr. Kassimis said before, that nowadays the agri-food sector is in a strenuous position, and therefore we need to see what else we can do in order to address the situation. So we have research and innovation. You do realize that both things are equally important. I expect from my fellow panelists to share what comes first, research or innovation or both, and how they, or whether they can be combined in order to be effective in this new time period. And of course, the perfect start for this chapter is Dr. Kyriazis. He's the Secretary General for Research and Innovation. I believe that more or less we have all seized the opportunities offered by the Secretary General for Research and Innovation. Mr. Kyriazis, you have the floor. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank Mr. Papadopoulos for this kind introduction. I would like, first of all, to express my gratitude and pleasure for being invited in this 5th Agribusiness Forum, not only because it has a series of acknowledged speakers across all sectors of the economy, but also because agricultural economy is a key pillar of strategy for research and innovation, as we see that in the Secretariat General. Mr. Papadopoulos said that it's either research or innovation, but this is not the case. It's both. They matter both equally. We know that research is the part that is that our secretary is more familiar with, and we know that innovation is something that has been developed over the past 3 to 4 years. And therefore, the two pillars upon which the Secretariat General is based to boost economy is research and innovation, of course. Our main vision and goal is to move towards a new development model based on environmentally sustainable methods that can offer more and better jobs. Research and innovation lie at the heart of this endeavor. However, when it comes to research and innovation, Greece is still lagging behind substantially compared to the European average, and our country is stranded in economies of low intensity. And we see that we're being faced with numerous challenges. We have problems in being overtaken by other countries where we have cheaper manpower, higher penetration of new technologies and applications. So the main goal is to increase the added value of the products and services produced by ourselves, openness and the broader interconnection of production with innovation and technology. This means that we need to revisit all the factors that led to the deep financial recession of the previous decade, as well as the installation of a new financial model that will stem from the upgrade of production, as well as a shift towards more innovative products and services able to enter international value chains. It is in this context that the agri-food sector plays a key role. Our Secretary General implements a series of interventions aiming at boosting the competitiveness of businesses through research, innovation, and interconnection with the research field. And we know that the flagship program iResearch, iInnovate supports the implementation of those things in businesses, and this is also supported by the collaboration between businesses and research bodies. And the new similar program has already been announced with a total budget of 300 million euro. It will be included in the new programming period 2021-2027. This new program that is implemented by the competent department in the Secretariat General for Research and Innovation has been the main pillar of the previous programming period and will be the key priority in the upcoming programming period. We have already determined the key priorities in this new programming period through the very specific processes followed by our Secretary General. This is a process that lasted for approximately 2 years, and it provided the right incentives to businesses, universities, research centers, competent bodies and ministries, civil society, and others in order to collaborate and identify the business opportunities that stem from the use of information in order to develop innovative products and services that are mainly export-oriented. In this small specialization sector, we have the agri-food prevailing. Today, through this action, we have 256 projects underway with a total budget of 151 million euro, public expenditure of that is 130 million euro. We have 390 businesses participating in this action. The key feature is that 74% of the participants are unique businesses, and most of them are small and very small businesses, with 533 participations and a total budget of 80 million euro, with public expenditure covering 64 million euro from that. And apart from all those 390 businesses, we also have 130 research bodies, universities participating with 341 participation and a public expenditure of 66 million euro. And if we see the distribution per region, the region of Central Macedonia ranks first with approximately 48 million euro. Then we have the region of Attica with 36 million euro. I'm talking about the total budget. And this is followed by other regions such as the region of Crete, the region of Western Greece. And you do realize that the overall budget for all the regions amounts to 151 million euro. In this action, as is also the case in many other regions, we have some priority areas. In this case, we have 8 priority areas. The agri-food sector is one of the first ones, but the key characteristic is that in this action, apart from the agri-food sector, we also have other similar projects that have to do with agricultural technology in all the other non-agri-food sectors. For example, in the case of materials and constructions, we see that there is one project with a total budget of 1 million euro with a product life cycle. We have already talked about the food industry, where we have 223 projects underway on environment, etc. We're not only talking about the agri-food sector, we also have collaboration with other sectors, environment and sustainable development. We have 15 15 research projects with approximately 8.5 million euro, transports and logistics supply chain 2.5 million, energy 14 projects underway with a budget of 8 million euro, ICT projects, one project with 500,000 euro budget. Let's also add another 8.4 million euro due to the special action projects have been designed in order to boost research in Greek aquaculture, and 25.2 million euro for interstate collaboration and networking projects in the agri-food sector. And when it comes to the agri-food sector, we also have 4 different research bodies that receive a funding of 14 million euro. And of course, we should always remember the special provision about Greek agri-food that was included in our action on innovative clusters, which led to the creation of 7 agri-food clusters. This meant that we had 75 companies participating. We also created 2 competence centers in this field. In order to interconnect research and production, we also created knowledge transfer laboratories and research centers in collaboration with the Greek Registry for Startups, the Elevate Greece Register, which operates in the context of the General Secretariat. We are trying to map the entire ecosystem of innovation in Greece, and along with the EquiFund innovation window is an important means to support startup businesses in Greece. We have provided certification to 635 startups that are members of this registry. A significant percentage of them operate in the agri-food technology sector. National funds have been used to fund flagship initiatives for the creation of research networks and new modern approaches for sectors that are critical and crucial for Greek society. I'm talking about agri-food, health, environment, and others. Apart from the various funding provided by the relevant funds, we are laying the foundation in order to fund at a national level the projects that will help us tackle the limitations and challenges of our times. A new way is being paved for research and innovation, like I said before, in the upcoming programming period 2021-2027. Structural funds from the Resilience and Recovery Fund, as well as the new Horizon Europe program, which is the biggest research program in Europe, with a budget of approximately 95 billion euro, we see that there are new opportunities for more extensive mobilization of business community in our country, not only in order to claim funding, but also to make the best use of those funds to the benefit of society and the economy. In the upcoming programming period, special emphasis has been laid on research and innovation support with the right development dissemination actions. We want that to reach the entire production capacity of our country. And of course, those actions focus on maximizing production outcomes, support startup businesses, create dynamic innovation ecosystems, as well as the consolidation of longer-term standing collaborations among those businesses. At the same time, we have created a set of regulatory interventions in order to boost innovation, such as strategic investments for the promotion of innovation, the creation of a framework for spin-off companies that are created by research and academic personnel. We hope, and the relevant cost has been deduced by the gross revenue of businesses. We also provide tax incentives, etc. Over the past years, our country is constantly being faced with adversities. I'm talking about the financial crisis, the pandemic, geopolitical overturns, the war in Ukraine. All those things have seriously disrupted the international supply chains of agri-food products, because we do realize that Russia and Ukraine account for the vast majority of sunflower production. It is amidst this conjuncture that the role of Greece as a pole of stability for the development of Europe has been strengthened. Equipped with research and innovation, Greece and the European Union have to tackle new and emerging challenges in the fields of energy, environment, defense, climate change, etc. I'm confident that Greek Businesses and Research Group will capitalize on those new opportunities offered in terms of research and innovation. And through the standing support that our country enjoys, we'll have equal opportunities. And in conclusion, I would like to say that this has been the main goal, our main goal for the development of research and innovation. We wanted to ensure this merger between this fusion of research centers, universities, businesses, and either those projects are being carried out in research sites or on site in the businesses. What we want is to yield the right results so that the state, businesses, everyone will be able to use that to the benefit of the society and the economy. And it is to this direction that we have been quite successful. And another last observation has to do with what we try to achieve in order to further boost research. In 2019, we had spent 1.21% of our GDP. In 2020, according to data from the National Documentation Center, although the estimates provided for 1.3%, we opted for 1.5% of the GDP. We were also taken by surprise, and we believe that at this pace we will be able to get closer to achieving the goal we have set for the upcoming years, to opt for 1.8% of the GDP expenditure. I hope that we will get there, and I believe that everyone should boost and support research, because research supports innovation, innovation supports development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think this presentation has given us food for thought, and I'm really looking forward to several questions. Let's go now. Let's invite to the podium Mr. Kouretas, who will give us the perspective of agrotechnology, mainly in terms of livestock breeding, which is usually a bit neglected in similar conferences. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I will talk generally. Okay. I will talk as president of the Sectoral Council of Agrotechnology in the National Research Country. Our mandate has just expired, and we presented to the political leadership the priorities as they emerged through our work over the past 2 years. Next slide, please. So the Greek food industry has some particularities. It lags 13% compared to the EU average. Which is rather interesting. And there is also an inherent issue when it comes to cooperation culture. We are at the bottom among the 37 OECD countries. We are not so used in the cooperation between research bodies and industry. And that's a very big problem, as the General Secretary pointed out before. And the research program gave a boost in this respect, the one presented by the Secretary General. And there is an unfavorable business environment at the wake of the pandemic and then the war in the Ukraine. So the business environment is not favorable. Business people are reserved. what we've done, our work, was based on the agri-food industry in December 2015. And according to this report, there are 4 requirements in order to increase productivity and increase the added value of the products. The first requirement is technology, meaning increased expenditure for R&D in agricultural production. The state has already began supporting technology, as the Secretary General presented before. The second requirement is branding. Branding is about the quality characteristics. We are lagging a little bit behind. Olive oil is really of top quality in Greece, but almost 90% is exported to Italy, not packaged. Then they package it and they export it at a much higher price. This is again a culture problem, and of course standardization and partnerships. Of course, I'm going to talk about that in detail later on. What we did in the sectoral council, we worked for 2 years with our colleagues in order to demonstrate the potential of agri-food technology, to identify the issues, to create the conditions that will allow us to raise awareness and then connect with the relevant bodies. It was for the first time. I have been in this sector for 30 years. 27 years ago, I went back from the US, and it was the first time in these 2 years that sectoral councils worked so effectively. And I do believe that the next council will build on what we've done. The important products, the 6 important products for Greece are fish, pizzas, cheese, olive oil, wine, and honey. So, our proposal is to organize 6 events, 6 conferences for each one of these product categories, where researchers, producers, investors, and companies will meet. This communication between the research and the business world is necessary. There are some projects, but they are more theoretical. Products should be marketed. The national and regional strategies for agri-food up to 2026 have already been mentioned by the Secretary General. I don't want to go into that. What concerned us was how we can create more jobs in various agri-food sectors, how many jobs and how will the regional gross added value will be improved? Can we utilize in a better way agricultural land? And would that change, and to what extent, the regional GDP? How competitive are the subsectors of regional economy in agri-food compared to the EU competition or the international competitions? A few years ago, Vangelis Boutas told me to go to a blog, to an unemployment demonstration by farmers. And they told me, why don't you join us? Well, I don't want to join you. You have been demonstrating for 30 years, but you cannot even put your product into a package and sell it abroad. Anyway, the human resources, what skills, know-how, knowledge is needed, and in which sector does our country excels? What is the improvement margin? Also, development of new business activity sectors using the primary sector products. How can this be done and how it can help with employment? Technologies, products, opportunities in the international market. Does this bring hope for the next 10 years and how do we tap on this potential? Look, Sweden ranks first in Europe when it comes to income per farmer. Greece is towards the end, and Thessaly is one of the bottom at the end of the Greek regions. Also, the Greek universities, feed regional economy with skilled graduates? Are they capable of meeting the challenges? Or do these graduates then live abroad to find a job? Because university produces two things, knowledge and graduates. If knowledge does not go into real economy and stays locked in a cupboard and the graduate goes to Italy, then we should ask ourselves, what do we do? What should we do with Greek universities? Let me move on because I don't have a lot of time. There are 7 challenges that we've identified for agri-food in the next years. The first one is to ensure that healthy choices for consumers are the easiest and first choices. That's very, very important to keep in mind and to put it in the consumer's mind. And in order to do that, we have to be very open about the quality of products that we produce. I don't want to see any ad about omega-3 fats which shows a child that asks his grandfather, how can you be so well when you're so old? And the answer is molars. No, the answer is walnuts and other products that we produce and they contain omega-3 fats. The second challenge is the provision of healthy food and the protection against dietary insufficiencies. Have you followed the discussion about Nutri-Score, a new label that will be introduced at the end of 2023? Greece, together with some other countries, were pioneers, and they said that it's not that important whether this product is healthy. What is important is a healthy way of living. By putting a label on a product, you don't do anything important. What is important is how this product has been produced, because the way in which it was produced makes life more difficult for southern products. Third challenge, the development of added value foods of higher quality, which are also easy, affordable, and widely available. Important. Fourth challenge, the development of safe products that can be trusted by consumers. There is a mistake here. What's the mistake? The model of the use of commodities and the requirement for the perfect and most affordable product is a utopia. Many packaging and manufacturing businesses are encouraged and assigned the control of the entire food chain just because they have quality management systems. This is risky, this is dangerous. In order to meet our objective, we have to have quality materials, raw materials, in order for our products to be healthy. Our raw materials are of high quality. That's our weapon. We have 1,300 endemic plant species. Fifth challenge, a sustainable productive process. This is hugely important, as we can all understand. Environment is very important. And sixth challenge is the management of the food chain. Very important as well. We have to use the right quality systems so that products can be competitive. They have to travel abroad, so they have to be accompanied with systems, certifications, and the quality labels. And the seventh challenge is communication, know-how transfer, training, competitiveness, and interaction with consumers. So research and science should be shared with the real economy and society. The so-called technology transfer. There is a new piece of law introduced about 1 year ago, according to which these procedures become much simpler. How to establish companies through universities in order to better utilize the research outcomes. This is very important. Now, conclusions. I don't want to bore you with too many details because I don't have a lot of time. Here is my entire team: Milonas Konstantinos from LKFE, Eleni Fundoulaki, Kaladjis Panagiotis, Bakopoulos Vasilis, Noutsos Christos, and all those associates that you can see. They were selected through an international invitation to tender, and those that are going to replace us should, in my opinion, build on our work, and we are available to help out.
Thank you very much for this presentation. You have provided us too much food for thought. The question that I have concerns the way in which Mr. Kouretas' work can be combined with work undertaken by Mr. Kyriazis, because I saw that Mr. Kyriazis is been managing funds in order to yield results, and I see Mr. Kouretas talking about the various challenges that need to be addressed in order to achieve these results. Maybe it would be useful to have a discussion later and see how we can connect those two things. And now, Mr. Geert Wilms will be the next speaker. He comes from the Netherlands, a country where they decided that in order to be small, you need to be smarter than the big ones, the big guys. That's the national strategy. So let's see what they're doing over there.
The podium is yours. Tell us what is it that you're doing right.
Λοιπόν, πάμε να μας πείτε και τι είναι αυτό που κάνετε τόσο καλά στην Ολλανδία. Μάλλον τι νομίζουμε ότι κάνουμε σωστά, θα έλεγα. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Ευχαριστώ και την Οργανωτική Επιτροπή που με προσκάλεσε για 5η φορά εδώ. Είναι πάντα χαρά μου να έρχομαι στην Ελλάδα και να συναντάω εσάς, τους φίλους μου τους Έλληνες.
My name is Geert Wilms. I'm from a public-private partnership.
Προέρχομαι από μια ΣΔΙΤ της περιφερειακής κυβέρνησης και ενός οργανισμού αγροτών. Πρόκειται για μια σύμπραξη δημοσίου ιδιωτικού τομέα που υπάρχει εδώ και 25 χρόνια. Δουλεύουμε πάνω στη βιώσιμη ανάπτυξη στη γεωργία. Εδώ θα μιλήσω για τις μεθόδους που χρησιμοποιούμε όχι μόνο στη δικιά μας περιφέρεια, αλλά γενικά στην Ολλανδία. Και θα χρησιμοποιήσω 7 παραδείγματα για να δείτε αυτή τη διεπαφή μεταξύ του αγροδιατροφικού τομέα και της τεχνολογίας. Λίγα στοιχεία, τα ακούσατε ήδη χτες φυσικά. Η Ολλανδία είναι μια οικονομική αγροτική υπερδύναμη. Ο τζίρος μας είναι 28,5 δισεκατομμύρια ευρώ και συνεχίζει να ανεβαίνει. Πάμε να σας μιλήσω για τη συζήτηση στην οποία συμμετέχω. Έχουμε τον Οργανισμό Αγροτών, τον ZLTO, με 12.500 μέλη και έχουμε και την περιφερειακή κυβέρνηση της περιφέρειας North Brabant. Το North Brabant είναι λίγο μικρότερο από την Κρήτη. Είναι μικρότερο από την Κρήτη, αλλά έχουμε 2,5 εκατομμύρια κατοίκους, 5 εκατομμύρια γουρούνια, 25 εκατομμύρια κότες και 600.000 αγελάδες. Άρα είναι πολύ πυκνοκατοικημένη η περιοχή. Στόχος της ΣΔΙΤ είναι να συμβάλλει σε μια πιο βιώσιμη γεωργία και φυσικά έχουμε από τη μία το περιβαλλοντικό ζήτημα και φυσικά είναι να δημιουργήσουμε και περισσότερη προστιθέμενη αξία οικονομική και κοινωνική. Έχουμε υιοθετήσει τη λεγόμενη προσέγγιση LIB. Σύμφωνα με τον καθηγητή Τερμέρ, είναι η λεγόμενη προσέγγιση των μικρών νικών. Το θέμα είναι να θέτουμε στόχους για 20 χρόνια μετά, αλλά να κάνουμε μικρά βήματα για να τους πετύχουμε. Και ένα από τα βασικά που κάνουμε είναι ότι υποστηρίζουμε μικρά project που ξεκινάνε ως μικρά, αλλά μετά αναπτύσσονται, μεγαλώνουν και αυτοί κάθε χρόνο υποστηρίζουμε 30 project. Άρα τα τελευταία 25 χρόνια έχουμε υποστηρίξει πάνω από 750 project σε πάνω από 2.000 εκμεταλλεύσεις. Έχουμε και ένα καλό δίκτυο. Ξέρουμε πάρα πολλούς ανθρώπους στον οργανισμό μας, γιατί κάθε κοινοτομία ξεκινά από 1-2 ανθρώπους που έχουν μία ιδέα και μετά προσπαθούν να την αναπτύξουν. Είναι επίσης απαραίτητο αυτά να υποστηρίζονται για μεγάλο χρονικό διάστημα, γιατί οι καινοτομίες χρειάζονται περίπου 10 χρόνια πριν καταστούν βιώσιμες. Και αυτές που θα καταστούν βιώσιμες είναι επιτυχημένες, γιατί υπάρχουν και άλλες που τελικά δεν επιβιώνουν, δεν είναι τόσο επιτυχημένες. Υιοθετούμε το μοντέλο της τριπλής έλικας. Έχουμε τις τρεις γωνίες του τριγώνου. Έχουμε τους επιχειρηματίες, δηλαδή τους αγρότες εδώ. Από την άλλη έχουμε την εκπαίδευση και την έρευνα και φυσικά την κυβέρνηση, τους δημόσιους φορείς. Και η βάση αυτού του μοντέλου είναι η διάδραση, η ισότητα και η συνεργασία μεταξύ αυτών των τριών μερών. Όλοι έχουν κάτι να συμβάλλουν και είναι ίσοι μεταξύ τους. Και πάντα επιδιώκουμε να είναι win-win η κατάσταση και στις περισσότερες περιπτώσεις πιστεύουμε ότι δεν συμφωνούμε, αλλά κατά 80% συμφωνούν οι αγρότες, οι ερευνητές και η κυβέρνηση. Αλλά πρέπει να βρούμε ποια είναι αυτά τα επιχειρήματα πάνω στα οποία συμφωνούμε. Και πάντα υπάρχει μια κατάσταση που είναι αμοιβαία επωφελής για όλους, και για τους τρεις και για τα τρία μέρη. Θα πάμε τώρα στα παραδείγματα. 7 επιτυχημένα πρακτικά παραδείγματα. Κάποια ξεκίνησαν 20 χρόνια πριν, κάποια άλλα 2 χρόνια πριν. Επέλεξα διαφορετικούς τομείς και διαφορετικές δεξιότητες και διαφορετικές κλίμακες. Μικρά project, μεγάλα project. Το πρώτο παράδειγμα αφορά ένα κέντρο εφαρμογής της γεωργίας ακριβίας. Ωραία να το λέμε, αλλά είναι δύσκολο να το πετύχουμε. Και εδώ ένας αγρότης βγήκε μπροστά με 750 εκτάρια, έχει μεγάλη έκταση δηλαδή, και ο αγρότης αυτός συνεργάστηκε με το Τεχνικό Πανεπιστήμιο του Eindhoven, το Πολυτεχνείο του Eindhoven, με το Πανεπιστήμιο Wageningen, με τον οργανισμό ZLTO και με το Πανεπιστήμιο Haas. Πριν 5 χρόνια. Ο στόχος και το αποτέλεσμα είναι η υψηλότερη απόδοση, πράγμα που έχει επιτευχθεί, και η μικρότερη χρήση νερού, ιχνοστοιχείων και φυτοφαρμάκων. Πλέον που έχει πετύχει αυτό το πείραμα, αυτό το παράδειγμα, αυτό το μοντέλο. Πλέον το μεταδίδουμε αυτό το μοντέλο προς τους άλλους αγρότες ώστε να μπορέσουν να το υιοθετήσουν και εκείνοι. Αυτό είναι ένα άλλο παράδειγμα από τη βιομηχανία, από τη γαλακτοβιομηχανία. Ξεκινάμε με έναν κύριο που ξεκίνησε από μία φάρμα στο Ντέμπελχόφε. Ο άνθρωπος αυτός έχει αγελάδες έξω, αγελάδες σε στάβλο και έχει και ρομπότ που αρμέγει τις αγελάδες. Το αγελάδες αυτό, το γάλα αυτό πάει κατευθείαν στην ομάδα επεξεργασίας, στη μονάδα επεξεργασίας και μετά στο μπουκάλι. Τώρα σε κάθε μπουκάλι ξέρει ακριβώς από ποια αγελάδα προέρχεται το γάλα. Και γιατί ξεκίνησε αυτή η ιδέα? Γιατί κάθε αγελάδα δίνει γάλα με διαφορετική γεύση. Άρα χρειαζόμαστε άλλο γάλα για τον καπουτσίνο, άλλο γάλα για άλλους σκοπούς. Αυτό πλέον του έχει δώσει προσθέμενη αξία γιατί έχει καταφέρει να διπλασιάσει την τιμή του προϊόντος του στα καταστήματα λιανικής. Άλλο παράδειγμα. Τα ρομπότ στην αγροτική παραγωγή. Βλέπουμε εδώ πολλά διαφορετικά ρομπότ. Πάνω αριστερά είναι ένα μηχάνημα συγκομιδής σπαραγιών, ενώ κάτω αριστερά βλέπετε ένα ρομπότ που χρησιμοποιείται στα θερμοκήπια. Ξεκίνησε 20 χρόνια πριν και πέρσι καταφέρανε να παράξουν 20 από αυτά και αφορούν την παραγωγή ντομάτας. Βλέπετε και άλλα ρομπότ εδώ. Το ένα ποτίζει τον γκαζόν, το άλλο τρέφει τις αγελάδες με τη ζωοτροφή χωρίς να χρειάζεται χειροκίνητη εργασία. Αυτό προέρχεται, το τέταρτο παράδειγμα, ξεκίνησε πριν 20 χρόνια από μία φάρμα χείρων. Πλέον όμως έχει δημιουργήσει μια ολόκληρη αλυσίδα αξίας. Το 2015, 250 παραγωγοί χείρων συνεργάστηκαν. Πλέον συνεργάζονται και πουλάνε όλοι μαζί 1 εκατομμύριο χείρους ανά έτος. Και όταν έχεις τόσο μεγάλη κλίμακα μπορείς και να καινοτομήσεις. Το 2018 άρχισαν να χρησιμοποιούν τα λεγόμενα tags που βάζουν σε κάθε χείρο στο αυτί του. Άρα πλέον ξέρουμε όλα τα στοιχεία που αφορούν κάθε γουρούνι. Τα περισσότερα από αυτά δεν παίρνουν αντιβιωτικά και αν ξέρεις ποιο είναι το γουρούνι που έχει πάρει αντιβιωτικά, δεν μπορείς να το πουλήσεις. Άρα πλέον μπορούν να πουλήσουν χείρους, οι χειροτρόφοι αυτοί που δεν έχουν πάρει ποτέ στη ζωή τους αντιβιωτικά. Αυτή είναι η προστιθέμενη αξία που δίνουν. Αυτό είναι κάτι εντελώς διαφορετικό που ξεκίνησε πριν 2 χρόνια, το 5ο παράδειγμα. Βλέπουμε ότι η υψηλή τεχνολογία και η φύση δεν είναι απαραίτητα αντικρουόμενα, αλλά μπορούν να συνεργαστούν. Γιατί αν ξέρει κανείς ότι θα ξέρετε ότι αν έχετε βοσκοτόπια για αγελάδες δίπλα σε περιοχές Natura, πρέπει να προσέχεις τα είδη που προστατεύονται από την περιοχή Natura, όπως είναι τα ελαφάκια ή άλλα ζώα. Στην πρωτοβουλία αυτή τοποθετήθηκαν 53 αισθητήρες που αν ανιχνεύσουν κάτι σταματάει το μηχάνημα να λειτουργεί, γιατί ξέρει ότι εκεί βρίσκεται κάποιο ζώο που πρέπει να προστατευτεί. Αυτό είναι ένα άλλο παράδειγμα, το 6ο παράδειγμα που ξεκίνησε πριν 20 χρόνια πριν. Τώρα πλέον όλα τα προϊόντα αυτής της περιοχής είναι βιολογικά. Πρόκειται για αρωτρέες καλλιέργειες και την τεχνολογία αυτή που ξεκίνησε πριν 20 χρόνια πριν και εξελίχθηκε, τη χρησιμοποιούν πλέον όλα τα αγροκτήματα βιολογικών προϊόντων στην Ολλανδία. Και εδώ το 7ο παράδειγμα αφορά ένα vegetarian χασάπι. Αυτή η ιδέα ξεκίνησε το 2007, 15 χρόνια πριν, για να δημιουργηθεί προστιθέμενη αξία από τα φυτά και ειδικά τα πρωτεϊνούχα φυτά. Σκέφτηκε λοιπόν αυτός ο άνθρωπος τότε, ο Jaap Kortewaert, ότι θέλω να γίνω ένας vegetarian χασάπης. 10 χρόνια αργότερα, το 2017, είχε μία εταιρεία με εισόδημα 20 εκατομμύρια ευρώ, την οποία το 2018, ένα χρόνο αργότερα, η Unilever την εξαγόρασε. Πολύ μεγάλη Ολλανδική εταιρεία.
The biggest butcher in the world, and Unilever has a turnover of about 50 billion euros.
Η Unilever έχει 50 δισεκατομμύρια κύκλο εργασιών και σκεφτείτε μια τόσο μεγάλη εταιρεία για να ενδιαφερθεί για αυτή την πρωτοβουλία, πόσο αξιόλογη πρωτοβουλία ήταν. Αυτή η πρωτοβουλία ήταν καλή όχι μόνο για την αγορά των φυτικών προϊόντων, αλλά και για τον ίδιο τον αγρότη, ο οποίος τώρα ξεκίνησε ένα νέο έργο, τη λεγόμενη cow machine, ένα μηχάνημα αγελάδα. Θέλει να δίνει χόρτο σε αυτή την αγελάδα και να δημιουργεί αυτόματα γάλα και τυρί. Ξεκίνησε 2 χρόνια πριν, φυτικό τυρί και γάλα. 2 χρόνια αργότερα, μας λέει ότι συνεχίζει να προχωράει παρόλο που δεν έχει επιτύχει στο 100%. 2 είναι τα σημαντικά για εκείνο. Να υπάρχει οικονομικά προστιθέμενη αξία, αλλά να μην χρησιμοποιεί τα ζώα. Αν μπορείς να χρησιμοποιήσεις μια εναλλακτική, ας το κάνεις. Δηλαδή, είπα, αφού δεν το τρως που δεν το τρως το ζώο, γιατί να φτιάξεις γάλα και τυρί από αυτό και να μην χρησιμοποιήσεις ένα μηχάνημα. Αυτό προσπαθεί να κάνει. Αυτή ήταν η παρουσίασή μου. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Αν μπορώ να πω μια κουβέντα.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I would like just to say something in order to trigger discussion for later on. The approach adopted by the people in the Netherlands is very obvious. Small steps, carefully elaborated for too long. Now, I would like to ask a challenging question. In the tools that we have, because we also have professors from universities here, we have the triple helix, I think we have the triple helix. On the basis of the examples that Mr. Wilms presented, how many of them would have been rejected by the I Research, I Innovate program of the Secretary General because they think that it would be too much to bother? Okay, that's a challenging question. Because we have all those who are responsible to assess the applications who tend to reject such ideas. Now, next presentation. Dr. Zalidis. He is going to talk about the more digital aspect of innovation, right? Okay, your presentation will be surprised then. Okay, hello everyone. I would like to congratulate my friend Yannis for this organization. Because he creates a think tank. And having attended the previous chapters, I'm more confident that this is a think tank. I would like to answer a couple of questions that were brought forward by the previous chapters. The whole anxiety regarding the absorption of funds. Why can't I see my presentation on the screen? Okay, that's over there. Great, thank you. about how we will be able to absorb this €500,000 in the form of eco-schemes, and how can we collaborate with the Irish people, because the Ireland has 120 eco-schemes a day as we speak. So maybe we have got something wrong. Akis, that's the magic word. Of course, we cannot skip that, because you do realize that both the Secretary General and Mr. Kouretas and our dear friend from the Netherlands talked about the triple helix, and I will make a comment on that. And I have to say the following. Okay, this is our strategy. We will move towards this economy. We will move towards a climate-neutral economy. That's the topic of my presentation, actually. So we need to see how we can provide a convincing answer. Philippus before asked a challenging question, and I will try to answer that, because these things are being funded either by the Secretariat General or other research institutes in order to be able to develop such technologies. But the question is whether this will bring us to the next day, whether they will help us implement the right policies, and whether those things will be translated in things that are relevant to the very existence of this transition to climate-neutral agriculture. I don't want to bore you with too many details. I just want to share with you a couple of slides about the European Green Deal and the goals you see on the screen. What I would like to highlight is the following. The European Green Deal wants to help businesses to become world leaders in clean products and technologies. Therefore, there is another challenge that we need to tackle. And we have also heard about the farm to fork strategy. No need to talk about that. My friend Athanassios Kyriazis talked about that. He talked about conservation agriculture, and that's a result of our strategy. Athanassios, yes, you are so right in explaining the specific practices that should be followed. We also have the global transition, that's another part, meaning that we're not alone, we're not the only inhabitants of this planet. Everything we plan, everything we design should be interoperable. We have colleagues from abroad, and they're more competent than myself on big data, so they do realize that through the Copernicus system we need to ensure the interoperability. And we also have the Balkan Center for Environment that explores the situation for all Balkans, and they focus on the Bamena area, Balkans, Middle East, and North Africa, in synergy with colleagues from Israel, Cyprus. And the question is how we can develop an economy that relies on sustainable carbon cycles. On the one hand, we want to be able to absorb greenhouse gas emissions from the atmosphere through biomass and storage, or the so-called carbon sequestration process. And in my other capacity as member of the high-level working group of the European Union expert, we have 6 different calls for CO2 emissions And those things have to do with policies that ensure the integrity of our soil. Okay, that's a promising field. And we want to identify what we should measure. Yesterday, I was constantly discussing with the Ministry for Rural Development, and they participate in a couple of our programs because they are the ones doing the reporting in our country. So there's an extensive reporting part that has to do with forests, with agriculture, with crops, and we also have what Mr. Yanakakis said before. Where's our plan for the upcoming programming period? Which are the right operations and functions that we need to accomplish and meet? Well, soil health. Fanny's talked about that before. That's a key point in our strategy for the upcoming programming period. No eco-scheme will receive financing unless we have a specific and concrete strategy for that. Carbon farming is another thing. No need to provide definitions. Those things are generic enough. However, I would like to highlight the last bullet, which makes the connection between the various chapters of this conference. So, the CAP strategy should be very specific in order to integrate the carbon farming aspect in our plan. That's the challenge for the upcoming financing period. Of course, the overarching goal of low footprint agriculture, which also includes the living lab that our friend and associate from the Netherlands showed, because he showed the living lab on precision farming, both in Greece and abroad. That's what they call precision farming. I insist calling that low carbon footprint farming, because at the end of the day, it's the outcome, the product that matters, along with its life cycle and the farming practices that are accompanied by the digital background. I will elaborate on that later on. And all these things need to be imaged in the form of blockchain and included in the end product that will reach the end consumer. And this product consists of those parts of the European Union that have to do with carbon farming. Now, let's now start with carbon farming and approach the impact, the cost of carbon farming, something that has been overlooked by the Greek agriculture. I'm talking about agroforestry. That's an issue that should be carefully considered. My dear Fannis, the question is, how can we grow the abandoned? How can we increase the abandoned lands? We know that there is a specific measure in the previous operational program, and nothing happens in terms of agroforestry. Because we know that we could also grow Greek traditional products based on chestnut, for example. We have apples and chestnut at Pelion. They're included in the system through the green farming part that should be promoted. But all these things need to meet the needs and requirements of CAP and, of course, include the aspect of technology there. This brings me to the big question asked by Philippus. Which are the challenges of science through research and innovation? Mr. Kyriazis and myself have extensively talked about that. At the end of the day, we, members of the academia, need to understand this, how we can not only identify a new product, but also come up with a URL that can be translated in production. This is why we need to be on the same page, speak the same language. What we want is to be able to implement horizon-widening programs and create the right smart hubs like the one we have at Thessaloniki. Okay, scientific uncertainty is on the agenda. We know that. This has to do with scaling up. What does it mean? It means that I'm not going to carry out this or the other experiment just to produce, let's say, spirulina or anything else. I want to use that in order to have a product that will be in the mid-scale, that will have a clearly specified and described procedure, something that the industry will want to buy. How scalable are your products? That's the question to ask the industry, and whether we have considered this aspect prior going into the production phase. Well, at the end of the day, all those things lead us to carbon cycle. I started my presentation talking about what we should do. Philippus talked about my laboratory. We have the spectral analysis and remote sensing laboratory. And this is something that allows for exponential access to satellite big data. 5 years ago, I couldn't have seen that coming. The sensor that had been given to us by the European Space Station to test for the past 3 years is an EMAP sensor. It's supraspectral, and it will enter into orbit again, meaning that we will have a vast volume of data on those things. And the question is whether we are ready to live up on the occasion, to rise on the occasion of all those things. Right now, where I believe that we're lagging behind in transferring all the sales and customizing them per producer, per climate change, and as per the farm-to-fork strategy, we are lagging behind too much. There's no point in boring you with all the technical details about the data broker and the digital program. But the point is that, in collaboration with our stakeholders and partners, the Netherlands included, why not, we should collaborate in order to move forward. And yesterday, at the Ministry of Rural Development, we were discussing monitoring, reporting and verification, its course and the accuracy that can be achieved so that our country can provide reporting, include the baseline in the reporting, and beyond the baseline, we want to be able to show the mitigation techniques, meaning the reduced consumption in order to get to the carbon stock exchange for those products. Here you can see some of the farming practices that are the most cost-effective. And you can see that a part that has to do with land management and the part of transforming lands from fields into arable land is something that can help us reduce carbon levels. And we also have the livestock breeding part with the methane production from livestock breeding units. You can see here that agroforestry and soil carbon or mineral oils are the three most effective means in order to meet the goal set by the European Union. I have only 1 minute left to say that now we have been faced with a shortage of tailored advice given to the producer. Therefore, AGIS is again too important to miss. We need to be able to communicate that everything we do in terms of research should follow an approach that will be close to the market. And of course, we also need to consider the eco-schemes and collective schemes part. That is the big part, however, the fact that we're in lack of tailored advisory services. As I was explaining over the break to my fellow panelists, that the living lab we have at the Salonica is very important. Panagiotis Mormitis has set it up. We try to approach food quality and link that to health. And we are happy to announce that now we're trying to build a living lab at soils. Our fellow panelists from the Netherlands talked about precision farming, their own living lab. All those things are very important. But of course, we need to target collective schemes. They should not be left aside. All those things need to happen in synergy with our collective schemes. And the major bet for the Greek agriculture is how we can transform cooperative formations into clustering. I would like to conclude by saying that in northern Greece, we have received funding because we are a regional excellence hub about the four following objectives. The first four is to boost the main innovation in carbon farming. This will happen in the Bamena region, and we have involvement of the Aristotle University and the Balkan Center. This goes beyond our territory. A comment that was off the microphone. Okay, this is part of the discussion you said, but we need to see what it means to create such a thing. A thing that meets the requirements described by our fellow panelists from the Netherlands who talked about the triple helix. With those few words, I would like to rest my case just saying to you that now Carbonica will create this infrastructure, and of course, I would like to invite you because on February 8th we will host the kick-off meeting at the Saloniki. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. As usual, a lot of details, and you connected all the dots. Well, let's see now what Dr. Skarakis has to present to us. Up until now, all the presentations were discussing the issue of what we can do to implement and, of course, use for our benefit the European policies. And Mr. Skarakis will talk to us about what's going wrong with the European policy. Can you hear me all right?
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Mr. Marakakis. I'm very glad to participate in this very high-level forum, which up until now has proven that it is, of course, a high-level discussion. We said a lot of things that are true, of course, and the main speeches and the main issues were about policies, different challenges, etc. I'll talk about something different on a more basic level, and I usually start from the conclusion. Europe must support the research and development in the agricultural sector in order to reach the goals that we have, and of course to minimize the food crisis that we have. Here are the Sustainable Development Goals. Most of them are directly or indirectly linked with the development of the agri-food sector. Even the gender equality is linked to the sector. Our sector, the agri-food sector, has to face a lot of challenges, and especially because our society has different demands, and we, of course, should increase the productivity and the production, and, of course, to keep our emissions very low. Let's move to the challenges. First of all, we need to produce more, we need to produce better, and how to do that? Do that with less
using less land and more qualitative product. We want, of course, to take into consideration biofuel and other aspects. And of course, we should produce food where it is needed exactly. These are all the challenges that, of course, are complex.
Προκλήσεις επιστημικής ασφάλειας δεν είναι η πρώτη φορά που αντιμετωπίζουμε.
This isn't the first time that we have to face a food security crisis. During the 1950s, because of the rapid growth of the population and, of course, the agricultural growth, there were a lot of people that talked about our end that was nearing, and there is a book exactly about this, the coming end. That didn't happen, of course, but it is something that, of course, is linked to today's. Well, there are a lot of leaders, amongst them leaders that won the Peace Prize and warned us and tried to find solutions. They want to see how they can have more sustainable crops. The beginning, always the start is the seed. They made some changes and they also, for example, used some extra genomes on the rice seed, and it could produce more. We could use less fertilizer. And my professor, Mr. Kyriazis, once said, when he had a meeting with different students that supported, of course, the climate, and he said that there are a lot of negative, of course, consequences, or these students rather focused on these negative consequences. But he said that, okay, everything you mentioned is great, but if we didn't have this situation, then you wouldn't be all in this room. So why am I right now talking only about the primary production? There are three things that we have to mention. Some things. Of course, we have to choose the degenerative system. We have, of course, the compatible system, the conventional system, and then we have the organic system, the agroecological system. In this biological or organic system, the regulations, they are very strict. Then the agroecology system moves towards the same direction with the social sector. It is, of course, as well certified, and it's supported from the United Nations. And then the last part is, of course, the regenerative agriculture. There is no support. No one knows what it is exactly. It, of course, represents the idea that we should focus more on the health of the soil, because that's how we can gather a lot of more carbon. But it doesn't take into consideration other systems. Today, we are aware that if we decrease our production, and this is going to happen only if we implement the systems as they are. We've talked about this, and many people have talked about this in the past, and organizations as well. These systems, when you look at them at first sight, they are very convincing. But without doubt, if we, of course, introduce them, we will see a very rapid decrease of the production. There are a lot of analysis done, there's a lot of analysis, meta-analysis done, and we did one last June, and we, of course, saw that the yields are 30 to 44% less in comparison to the other sectors. So we need to plant more than 38% extra, an extra 38% of the land to have the same yield. The war, of course, is another issue, and they shown us, of course, that we must be more careful. And, of course, the debate for food security arose once again, and the prices, of course, rose as well. And we came to, of course, question the wisdom of all these systems. Let's see what happened to Sri Lanka. Well, their president in 2021 said that I stop all fertilizers, I stop all things, and you will farm and you will produce very traditionally. And Ms. Vandana also talks about all of these things. What happened? Their production decreased to 0.5% to 50%, and of course their economy has fallen apart. Right now they are panicking, and of course they're trying to make things right again. I don't want to say that these systems are not useful. Everything is useful, of course. On a local level, this is used. But if we're trying to say that there is only one right system and no other, that is a big mistake. And this, of course, will harm their own hypothesis, because their attitude, of course, makes things worse. You heard yesterday about greenwashing. You heard about food health, and amongst other things. And I would like to suggest to everybody that, of course, our fanatics talk down about these strategies. They should be more careful. Everybody has understood, even the European Union, that it is also not very weird to say that this document did not talk about this goal of organic farming until 2030, the goal of 25%. There was a decrease, perhaps, even before the war in Ukraine happened. We should, of course, use any tool available, and of course, to base our strategies on all innovative products that we very thankfully have, thanks to research and development in all those sectors. I don't like smart agriculture, but I don't like this term, We have smart other things that are smart, but we've said that this tool can help us to save water, can help us to help less fertilizers.
Δεν είναι πανάκια.
And
Πάλι να βγαίνουν και λένε θα τα κάνουμε όλα. Θα πετάνε τα drones και θα λέμε τι ασθένεια έχει.
Once again, this is not the one and only solution.
Θα κάνουμε τεράστια λάθη.
If we use this technology in the field, of course it may do a lot of things wrong. We have to go out and make things right again. What did we want in the past? We wanted to have different varieties, compatible varieties.
Πράσινη επανάσταση. Εντάξει. Αλλά τώρα είπαμε ότι θέλουμε μια εντατικοποίηση.
Now what do we need? We need to intensify things. We want a sustainable intensity. We want to use these new tools to go further. We talked about the green revolution, and right now there are a lot of methods, great methods that can help us to move towards our goals. First of all, we have the help of genetic modification. There are now during these 25 years of its presence, a lot of genetic modified organisms. No one was harmed from them, and I would like to read to you the announcement of 25 Nobelists from Dr. Robert. There was no negative and verified consequence from GMOs to any person in the world and the community. I am one of them, and I trust them.
Well, okay, what's done, it's done. No need to talk about that because we don't have much time left. But now we are being faced with a new exciting perspective. I'm talking about the genomic processing. Rather than focusing on too many genes and try to combine them in a random way in order to build the results, we opt for specific changes, changes that the nature could also undertake. I'm not talking about extracting genetic material, etc. Why not wait for nature to do? Because we cannot afford losing hundreds of years to wait for that. But it's still doubtful whether we have been able to wait, to sit back and wait for that. So we talk about genomic processing. For the time being, the European Union and the European Court in Paris considered them equal to genetic modification, GMOs, so they have to adhere to very strict regulations that prevent a product from entering the market fast enough. Now, just a scheme to show you that it takes 1 to 3 years to develop a good quality that can have the properties I mentioned before. When I talked about the mesotrophic capacity and all that, those things are not easy to achieve overnight. However, right now there's an ongoing discussion about those new technologies in the European Union. They have a different perspective. You can see them up. The deep green is the countries where those technologies have received the green light. Pale green is where there is a positive recommendation of that. The yellow areas is where those things are under discussion. And red has to do with strict regulation as it applies to GMO products. And in order to complete my presentation, I would like to say that we need to listen to scientists. We need this hard science. I believe that over time this will be more easily comprehensible, and we, the European Union, will be able to capitalize on those wonderful results seen by research and innovation. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm sure that there is a very interesting discussion coming up right now. How would you like to proceed? Would you like to start from top to the bottom, from bottom to the top, anyway? Now, let's start with some comments on what Mr. Kyriazis said. I see that there are two main questions about that. The first question is whether you are close to developing an assessment or evaluation system for the positive outcomes of projects financed by the Secretariat General for Research and Innovation, the real economy, because there are too many people involved, scientists, businesses, but to put it in practical terms, what has happened there? Let's start with this first question. Well, ever since the establishment of the Secretariat General for Research and Innovation, we have been focusing on those projects, and we do realize that we have a long history. It was established back in 1985. And of course, we have completed many projects. We try to approach and assess those things decade per decade. We try to go backwards in order to evaluate all the projects that have been financed on the basis of the outcomes produced. There's a vast number of projects. So what we want to examine is whether there are tangible results and whether those tangible results have been put into practice. There's another thing we care about because we want to avoid overlapping. We have programs or projects that have been financed once and for all, and sometime later they return in order to receive financing again. We have some safeguards in place in order to prevent such things from happening. But when a project is big enough, we want to include the new partnership agreement, and I hope that we'll be able to move forward with that. Allow me, Mr. Papadopoulos, to make a comment about what you said after Mr. Kouretas' presentation. I believe that Mr. Kouretas is an expert, if not a top expert, in his field, and it is with great pleasure and honor that we collaborate with him. You asked a question about the results of TESI. Allow me to elaborate on that, because TES is the sectoral scientific council. They have 11 such boards, and it falls under the umbrella of the National Council for Research, Technology and Innovation. They are the main advisor of the Secretariat General for Research and Innovation. Their role has been upgraded over the past years, and Mr. Agravanis Tsakonas from Harvard is presiding over this board, and he focuses both on research and innovation. We wanted to include both things in our board because we didn't want to have only members of the academia. We also wanted to have insights of the market. And this has been extremely helpful in order to boost and promote startups. And within the AgriTech, we have those boards, and those boards process, monitor, supervise, and submit proposals. Those proposals have been considered. Sometimes one might believe, just because we don't follow those proposals in a linear way, they think that we don't listen to them or follow them, but this is not the case. We know that all the assistance and support we receive is valuable, and in order to get, after 2 years of consultation, to have the smart specialization and to launch this tender, the European Commission, I can assure you that we have carefully considered many of the proposals submitted by those boards. I just wanted to make this comment because you asked this question before. I wanted to give you this feedback in order for you to better understand our position. Ever since I took office as the Secretary General, I realized that I can speak about the things I'm competent on, but I cannot do the same thing for all disciplines. Therefore, when there are too many things being submitted to AgriTech, they need to follow their own processes in order to move forward, have a more comprehensive and holistic overview, and draw the right conclusions. Now, let me now take you to something else. We have the iResearch, iInnovate programs you mentioned before. You do realize that the economy should benefit from that in the end, but it means that either the approval or rejection of a project needs to happen quickly enough in order for that to be included in the business plan. Which are the thoughts that you have in order to move towards this direction? Well, I have to say that we have tried to expedite those processes. There are things that the Secretary General can do. There are also some other things that go beyond our competence because it has to do with the European Union, the processes that they have in place. When it comes to our internal procedures, things move more quickly. Like I have already said, we are going to follow the general program assessment principles that apply in the case of Horizon programs, which means that the evaluators will not only come from Greek businesses, they will also come from the Greek market, because we want to see whether those things can resonate to the Greek market, and we'll also have both Greek and international evaluators. But you know, those processes are not easy. Can you imagine, just in order to establish the board under the previous program, we had 5,500 proposals. How many boards should we create to assess all these things? The one thing is to create the boards, but you need to staff them with people for which there is no conflict of interest. And we need to rotate those people because some withdraw, others resign, others delay, others don't have time. What I would like to say for our part is that we carefully consider, and we have already submitted the relevant request to the Partnership Agreement Board, in order for us to expedite the physical and financial object. The physical object is easy to undertake, but the financial object is something that creates huge delays, especially in the case of businesses, because we need to process all aspects to the point. And therefore, we asked to have chartered accountants, and then the Secretariat General could run some controls or audits. Maybe this will further accelerate the processes. I know that we're in a delay, but let's not forget that we talk about research projects, not projects for which one might say, okay, take those 2 or 3 million and you can use that as of tomorrow. Research takes time. Too many procedures are involved. The program might start running, then might change, and the research outcome might not be achieved. And this is why there is a difference. We need to have a different approach to the theoretical part and another approach to research per se. Anyway, okay, thank you so much for being so honest.
Να δώσουμε και στον Υπουργό την ευκαιρία να απαντήσει στο ίδιο ερώτημα ή σε κάποιο...
Would anybody else like to answer to the same question?
Okay.
Okay, the first question was that we have, as a country, of course, invested a lot of money in research and development. And I want to ask in which degree we are, of course, developing a system that can measure the effort and these results in our real economy. Thank you very much for giving me the word, because the Secretary General is always the, of course, right person to answer those things for research and development. But I want to say that the sums that we have invested for R&D, we should measure them for the last few years, because there is a lot of work that has been done. We've never been successful in the past to, of course, connect the universities with the production itself. And there are a lot of countries like the Netherlands, which is a country smaller than Greece, but the Netherlands are the second largest country that exports research and development, and they have managed to connect those two dots. So, although we've made a huge effort and we see the results, of course, I'd like to say that right now the connection of the universities with the real economy are one of the facts and the characteristics that will help us move forward. In the past, there wasn't an actual plan. There were different projects, and they didn't, of course, give us the same result. Right now, research and research institutes move to find on their own financing from different businesses or different organizations. So, if we don't connect those two dots, as I mentioned in the past, we wouldn't have the same results. We managed to do that, and we keep going in this right path. Yes, please, because I have a very difficult question for you afterwards. Well, when I started as a president in my sector, everything we did with our partners from abroad, we always communicated all results and all facts with the Secretary General. We've done so many things, and I've been working for the university from 1996. It is for the first time that we have managed to keep track of everything and we know how to connect the universities with the real economy. We have a laboratory, the only laboratory that has been successful to do that. And when we had the proposition to participate to this law that was published, I presented this topic, and I used the title "The Odyssey of a Researcher." It was really, really difficult. It was really a criminal thing. A lot of people saw us as criminals, that we want to connect the universities and the economy. It is very positive, and we're moving very well to the correct direction. Great. Let's go one step further. Now, the difficult question for you. Previously, you talked about all serious problems and the serious cultural problems, behavioral problems. We, who represent social sciences, we know that culture is one of the last things that changes. It has a lot of levels. It is multidimensional. And in the end, most of us say what is politically correct to move forward. But what is the culture of an organization? It is a set of different recipes, successful recipes of the past. That's how we live, that's how we survive. Why should we change? And this is, of course, a question for all professors. Why should we support a new academic? Why should we help them with his publication? What's his way, his roadmap? How are we supporting him? Do we provide to him with this aid, or is he just doing it for the sake of our country? Well, I'll share with you my opinion. Where do you work? Right now, I work in InoFA. It's an agricultural cluster. I know, but when somebody comes to you and comes to work for you, won't you ask him to explain to him all things about strategy and the details? Yes, of course, you will. Here, there are, of course, different procedures, a lot of knowledge that the Greek citizen has paid through all of the programs. And during my term in the university, that is a 26-year profession, but nobody has called me during all of these years. I've been also a rector, but nobody has called me to talk about what's the goal of the university, what's the goal of the laboratories, etc. Do we just want to create knowledge and just shove them in the bookcase? Well, we want to have people that have knowledge and can connect the innovation, the technology with real economy. That is the way that we want the society to look to the university, think what the universities do, and that is the most important part. When we started in 2013 in the University of Thessaly, this roadmap, I've created a whole volume and that contained all the laboratories that could be supported from different businesses in Greece. I had a lot of anger because of this publication. Why shouldn't I have done this? Well, the biggest problem I had to face was, of course, the professors and their opinions, because they only had 5 different organizations they could employ, our bachelor graduates, etc., and they didn't want to have more. Our society needs to understand the reason of the existence of universities, and the universities have to be, of course, the ones that
will help them understand. Now, Mr. Zalidis, yes, I agree. Culture is moving very slowly compared to all other factors. I came back to Greece in 1991. I've been working in universities for 35 years, and I have different positions. I was a vice president once, and I could, of course, evaluate universities, and we couldn't find any strategies for the universities. They didn't have any strategies. These things need to change. The second most important thing was, of course, the separation from the professor researcher and the professor lecturer. We should have a separation, an age separation as well. And if they knew there was financing for them available, it could help them to move forward and could help them to change the system. That is a discussion between us, the professors, and let's move on to the next question to Mr. Skarakis. I cannot say if it's right or wrong, this reasoning, because there are other people more specialists this topic. But let's talk about resources and their management. Well, the Greek farmers are buying the resources very expensively from abroad. We see services they buy, and these services have been produced, manufactured in our country, but are purchased from abroad because they were sold abroad. So, do you believe that this metagenomic sector and all, of course, same technologies could help the Greek industry?
That's a difficult topic. It has always been, ever since I remember myself, I have been telling the various professionals, stop importing things in order to sell them. Start creating something in Greece from scratch. But back then there was too high inflation, and I was trying to explain to them, given that genetic improvement is a long-term process that requires patience, etc. So what we do is import practically everything. For example, in the case of the sugar industry, we have the privilege and the competitive advantage, but today we have only one or two companies running very small programs, and you do realize that those programs cannot meet business needs. Why do we insist on the new technologies? Because if those genomic technologies are allowed and receive the right licenses, they can be easily implemented. They are not that expensive. In the case of genetic processing, I would like to tell you that a maize hybrid costs $1 billion to produce, because that will give you a better perspective of what we're talking about. If we talk about a conventional species and the cost is 100, that in the case of the genetically modified species, the cost is 130. However, the regulatory requirements for the licensing will entail a further 100 costs for the conventional species and 5,000 more in the case of the genetically modified species. And this is why Mossad and all the other companies are taking advantage of that. However, if this regulatory framework was easier, because you do realize that genomic processing doesn't entail the risks of genetic processing, we could have used that technology in order to address our problems. But we do realize that assistance and collaboration should be required to begin with, but I believe that this is feasible. The Netherlands is a country that is smaller than Greece, and they're doing that. Israel, the same. So you do realize that this has to do with knowledge intensity. I want to hope that we're not dumb, because we have too many people fleeing the country to work abroad, and they are popular abroad. So you do realize that we need to have a different business approach to that. The comments of the microphone. Last remark. I agree with what Yorgos said before. We don't have the right business culture here in Greece. That's the major challenge and problem. This is why I insist in including in the syllabus or in the curricula of universities subjects that have to do with entrepreneurship, because startups have brilliant ideas, but they don't know how to translate them in business ideas and practices. That's why I believe that either in the bachelor or postgraduate studies programs, we should have a subject on entrepreneurship. Okay, well, I think that we can discuss that over coffee. Η τελευταία ερώτηση αφορά τον κύριο από την Ολλανδία. Μια πολύ σύντομη ερώτηση. Ξέρω ότι δεν ήμουν πολύ δίκαιος απέναντί σας και ζητώ συγγνώμη. Αν κατάλαβα καλά, στην ουσία αυτό που είπατε είναι ότι η πρόοδος στην Ολλανδία επετεύχθη μέσω του μοντέλου της τριπλής έλικας. Και αυτό έγινε σταδιακά και σε μια εκτενή χρονική περίοδο. Μας είπατε ότι οι βασικοί οικονομικοί παίκτες δεν ήταν αυτοί που ηγούνταν τις διαδικασίες. Οπότε ήταν έργα τα οποία ξεκίνησαν από ακαδημαϊκή περιέργεια. Όλα αυτά ακούγονται πάρα πολύ ωραία. Ωστόσο, υποπτεύομαι ότι κάποιοι από τους πραγματικούς οικονομικούς παίκτες στην Ολλανδία ίσως αποσύρθηκαν, αποτραβήχτηκαν από αυτά τα έργα. Και για ποιο λόγο, γιατί δεν τους άρεσαν αυτά τα προγράμματα Horizon στην Ολλανδία, για ποιο λόγο δεν μπήκαν σε αυτά. Δεν μπορώ να ξέρω ακριβώς πόσοι οργανισμοί συμμετείχαν στα πρόγραμμα Horizon 2020, ωστόσο, πριν από 20-30 χρόνια, καταλάβαμε ότι η επιστήμη έτρεξε συγκεκριμένα προγράμματα έρευνας, ανάπτυξης, βγάλαν τις εκθέσεις τους, τα πορίσματά τους. Άρα λοιπόν όλα αυτά τα πράγματα ήταν αυτά με τα οποία προσέγγισαν τους αγρότες και τους είπαν πηγαίνετε κάντε αυτό που ξέρετε και εμείς θα σας υποστηρίξουμε. Και νομίζω ότι πριν από 15-20 χρόνια αυτό άλλαξε και γι' αυτό το λόγο βάλαμε τους αγρότες να συμμετέχουν σε ερευνητικά προγράμματα από την πρώτη στιγμή. Και η εμπειρία που έχουμε αυτή τη στιγμή λέει ότι και οι ερευνητές και η έρευνα εξελίχθηκαν, αναπτύχθηκαν και βελτιώθηκαν χάρη στη συμμετοχή των αγροτών από την αρχή, από τα πρώτα στάδια της έρευνας. Άρα λοιπόν μιλάμε για μια αμοιβαία υποφελή κατάσταση. Αυτή τη στιγμή είμαστε σε ένα σημείο καμπή, όπου έχουμε τους γεωργούς, έχουμε τις επιχειρήσεις που δεν είναι ακριβώς στο τιμόνι, αλλά είναι στις μπροστινές θέσεις για να συζητήσουν με την κυβέρνηση. Άρα λοιπόν θεωρώ ότι το θέμα δεν είναι ποιος θα ηγηθεί, ποιος θα κάτσει στο τιμόνι, αλλά ποιοι θα είναι μαζί σε αυτές τις πρώτες θέσεις να αλληλοπροκαλούνται για να μπορούν να βελτιώνουν τα αποτελέσματα. Και για τους αγρότες, αλλά και για τους ακαδημαϊκούς και για την κυβέρνηση. Όσον αφορά το πρόγραμμα Horizon 2020 και τα σχετικά έργα, νομίζω ότι πολλά έργα ξεκίνησαν στο παρελθόν με αυτό το συριακό τρόπο και αυτή τη στιγμή έχουμε περισσότερους αγρότες να συμμετέχουν σε αυτά τα ερευνητικά έργα. Αλλά τα τελευταία χρόνια και ειδικά δεδομένης και της πανδημίας δεν είχαν τόσο πολύ τη δυνατότητα να παρακολουθήσουν όλα αυτά τα προγράμματα. Ωστόσο, ξέρουμε ότι και πολλά προγράμματα έτρεξαν και πάρα πολλοί αγρότες συμμετείχαν σε αυτά τα προγράμματα της έρευνας. Εμείς ως Ολλανδία έχουμε το στόχο να βοηθήσουμε στη διάχυση αυτής της γνώσης στην Ευρώπη για να βοηθήσουμε και άλλους ανθρώπους και να τους μεταδώσουμε την εμπειρία μας. Ωραία, λοιπόν. Και νομίζω ότι τώρα θα... And I think that now we're going to close this chapter. Thank you so much. I would like to thank all speakers for this very interesting presentation and discussion. I believe that we have given you food for thought for the upcoming conferences. Thank you.